If you want a revolution, the only solution, evolve. Evolve. If you want a revolution.
Welcome back once again for the Alien Anthology Blu-ray, and this is the very last disc of disc 6, and we're going to sum up the rest of the films on here.
Yeah, so like the other discs, there's quite a bit to see, there's quite a bit to hear, so let's get into this as quick as possible.
Okay, so continuing disc 6 now. If you'd watched my previous review, you'd seen that I had gone all through the Alien extras one by one, as in pre-production, production, and post-production and aftermath. Now, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection are set up exactly the same way. So instead of going through every single one of them, I will just do a summary to show you exactly what's on each one. First, you have the development, which is basically the script by James Cameron, and then you have footage, then you have storyboard archive, conceptual art, and casting. Now each one of these obviously has more to them. Alien 3 is set up exactly the same way, with pre-production, production, post-production, and aftermath. Now each one of these is almost this kind of the same extras that you will find in the other ones, but obviously they're about Alien 3, not aliens, so, and there is a lot to go through in each one of these. We move on to Alien Resurrection. Again, it's set up exactly the same as Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3 with the pre-production, production, post-production, and aftermath. Now in each one of these, it's sort of like the other ones. First you have the script, then you have the footage, and you know, there's a ton of extras on each one of these. The only different thing here is actually the anthology, which is the last extra on disc 6. This has some really interesting extras on here, actually. First, we start with the Alien Evolution, the 2001 original TV version.
It was a bad situation. I've never been in a worse one. And it felt like you had to take sides. And of course, whose side was I supposed to be on? I had to be on Fincher's side. You know, I mean, I wanted to finish the movie.
Sigourney was quite angry about that. It was a very tough shoot. She felt sort of abandoned. But I felt if I couldn't really have control over the script of the director who'd never directed a movie before, there was really nothing for me to do there.
It still could have all worked had Fox kind of held their nerve and not screened it to a bunch of brain-dead teenagers in Southern California, and then actually followed their comments of there's too many bold English guys in it, you know, and all this kind of nonsense.
The next extra is called the Alien Evolution, the 2003 Alien re-edit. Okay, so basically what this is just like the first one that you just watched that was aired in Britain, but they re-edited all of this just to include only the first movie and not the other two. So it's kind of basically the same exact thing with a few extended interviews and a few other added things here and there. But yeah, it's awesome that, you know, that you could just add this on here and didn't forget about that it existed. So it's actually really cool.
The evolution of the Alien saga.
So once again, this is yet another making of the Alien saga, and it goes through pretty much everything you've already saw before on all the hundreds of other hours of extras, so you're pretty much rewatching the same thing. It's just kind of differently edited, and it does have a few extra things that weren't in some of the other extras, some extra drawings and some interviews and things like that. So yeah, you know, I was just watching this and I completely got caught up into it. So it's so easy to watch something like this because it's so well done and so well edited and so interesting. Even though you've already seen everything there is to see about Alien, you still find yourself being entertained by this, and it's a fantastic extra on here. Next up on the extras is something called the Aliens 3D attraction. So what this is, was it's talking about how Aliens was actually going to become a theme park attraction, sort of like the Terminator 3D one that was in Universal Studios, that was so amazing. And I never knew anything about this whatsoever. So it was just really cool to kind of go through, and you can actually read the entire script of what the whole attraction was going to be. So great, but at the time I guess they thought it might have cost too much or whatever. For whatever reason, it was scrapped and never was made, which was a shame because it would have been incredible. So besides the script, they actually do have some of the drawings as to what the outside of the attraction would have looked like, and when people came in and what they would have saw while they were, you know, seeing the movie. And it was kind of like you would have seen a 3D film on the screen, and then the actors would have came out on the stage and kind of interacted at the same time while you're watching the film, just like the Terminator would have been. And yeah, it really disappoints me that they didn't make this, because it would have been so awesome. So maybe someday they'll actually do it and put it in there. So next is something really interesting. Once again, it's called Aliens in the Basement, the Bob Burns Collection. I had no idea what to expect out of this, but apparently there's this guy named Bob Burns, and he ended up having all of the props from Alien. And all these props were actually just given to him because he had mentioned it to somebody from the head of the studio that, you know, he would have really liked to have some of these props. So he had to sign a contract, though, saying that he couldn't sell any of them, and he would store them in his own house, you know, and keep them nice and clean and not have anything, you know, happen to them, because they didn't want to just scrap all of the stuff that happened in the Aliens movies. So they decided, you know, to have this guy keep them all in his house. So he ends up building an entire shed out of the back of his house where he actually has all the alien props. And I mean, he has everything. He has all the alien heads, all the alien ships, everything that you can imagine that was an alien film. They just brought it to him. And the way he was talking is they brought it to him in these big gigantic semi trucks, and they had these cranes, and they were like putting it into the backyard because they had so much stuff to give him. And it was just amazing that, you know, a studio would do that for somebody. So yeah, otherwise I guess they would have destroyed all the props and just got rid of them. But now this guy here has them all in his shed. So it's just a really awesome extra to watch. It's very entertaining, and it's just really cool for the studio to do something like this. So next up is parodies. This is exactly as it sounds. The first one is from The Family Guy, and the second one on here is from a classic film, Spaceballs. So just two short parodies on this extra. It's cool they added it. I'm sure there's been more parodies out there, but I don't know why they only selected these two, but still, they're cool to watch. Now we have Dark Horse Still Gallery. Dark Horse is actually the name of a comic industry, and they ended up getting some of the rights to make some comics from the Alien films. So here you have basically the covers from some of the Aliens comics they came out with, and who drew them, and what they were about. So again, a very interesting extra. Patches and Logos Gallery. Again, this is exactly the way it sounds. They show all the patches and logos that they used in all the films, and it's just a really amazing extra to have on here, just to show the amount of detail they put into all these films. Just details you don't really see while you're watching the film. So it's just really cool to see all of this stuff on here. It's just amazing.
Well, that was the end of Alien.
That's how we're going to end it. That was it. That was the end.
That's about all there can be. I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, this was crazy, Vince. We've been working on this for almost a year now.
I didn't think we'd ever get done with this thing.
It was the biggest challenge I have ever went through reviewing anything ever. But I gotta say, I had an absolute blast going through all these Alien films. I mean, I could not have had more fun.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as we did.
that was the end of Alien.